So nice to see you. It's always nice to come on Tuesdays and get to talk a little bit about branding and how it affects your business, what
Every day.
benefits, what it benefits you with. So we want to talk about today the last training for the brand archetypes.
Part
So
4.
yeah, so it's exciting because we get to go ahead and close this chapter of archetypes. And like we even talked about, like we just went through like the surface. We didn't even go deep into it. When we go into like huge trainings, we definitely would go deep into archetypes and how that looks like and how it affects you, your business, and how it can benefit your business, right? So today we're going to be talking about the innocent, the sage, and the explorer.
Mhm.
So today should be interesting. So I see you guys. Say hi, engage with us. We would love to hear who it is, because Facebook loves when you engage with us. So please go ahead and comment, even if this is not for you. If you're a friend of mine, go ahead and say hi. Anyways, I was having a conversation today about, in reference to that I know some of you are lurkers out there just watching us.
Hello, Christina.
Hi. So, and it helps. It really helps to say hi, to engage with our videos. Even if you just pass by and you're not going to watch the whole thing, go ahead and say hi, just because it really helps us.
Yep.
So just root for us. Anyways, we want to go straight into it, and we want to talk about the different the last 3 archetypes that we have for today. Nicole, do you want to start? Do you want me to start first?
Oh, I can start. We can talk
Okay.
about the innocent. The innocent
Yes.
archetype. So, what are some innocent archetype brands? Well, I think we're familiar with a few of them. A lot of them are going to be around even like the cosmetics or skincare, any other kind of care. I know we talked a little bit about the caregiver,
Yeah.
but innocent and the caregiver can be 2 very different things. And so, like one of them, one brand in particular is like Dove. Well, Dove has some very interesting, they're very transparent with their, or authentic. They want to show the actual skin, not anything covering up. And so they want to show that see through things. They don't want it to look like there's something that's covering it up. And so they want their brand voice to be optimistic and honest. There's that word, honesty.
Yeah.
And then humble. And so, what's the brand message? They say that the most wholesome things in life are unadulterated and pure. So there we go. Do you want to add more to it, Zachi?
Yeah, another one is Snuggle. Like if you guys know the detergent,
Oh
but
yeah,
we
the
know them.
bear. The
Yeah,
little bear.
that's a very innocent brand. And so when you think about, the brand Snuggle, you automatically realize that it's a very innocent brand. Um, and it makes you really feel innocent.
Mhm.
And that's just the way that how they did their marketing. Like, so they positioned themselves in between all the other detergents. They put themselves as someone that's innocent. It gives you that feeling that you're going to get exactly what you paid for. Like, you
Yeah.
know that it's not going to have any extra, I don't know, chemicals or whatever. And that's how they portray themselves, right? Doesn't mean that they
Yeah.
don't. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
And that goes with all that honesty.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine if something were to not be honest with an innocent brand?
Yes, it would ruin them. And that's why, like, when we talk about, what type of personality are you and your brand, we say
Mhm.
that you can't neglect who your personality is, for the reasons like you yourself are a specific way, and you going outside of your character would pretty much say to someone else that you're either lying, you're hiding something, this is not you. They start questioning you, and clients and customers start questioning as well, because once you have a personality, people tend to know when you're not being true, you're not being sincere. So
Oh,
that's what we're
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Also, like, it's joyful. It's a normally innocent brands are joyful.
Yeah, you
Um,
wanna smile.
yeah, yeah, and it also, like, towards customers, it makes them feel like they can do this. They get encouraged by it. It has faith and optimism. So, but like, what are the brand villains to this? Doing something wrong. So at the end, it comes down to that. Some of the pitfalls is like simplistic view of the world, like meaning it's too simplistic. And the brand voice for innocence are simple, concise language, cheerful. So you have to be very careful that it's not too simple, but it's simple. So there could be too much where it makes you feel like they're lying, right? So it can fall into that. So you have to be very careful that it doesn't go into that. Another brand that falls into that is Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Coca-Cola considers themselves um, a brand that's innocent,
Mhm.
and a lot of people would not consider them innocent, right?
You know, it's funny, when I was doing the wheel,
Yeah,
because 'cause I've been creating that wheel, and I was looking for it reminded me of the everyday man, but there has to be a persona that you see that transcends or goes into that whole innocence look beyond the everyday man, and just to find that. So that's a very interesting thing, and like with Coca-Cola ads, I know they have the polar bear, that's been the generational
Santa
thing.
Claus.
Yeah, the Santa Claus, polar bear,
Yeah,
um, but the friendship or the uniting of people, that has been one of the main things that they've been doing for decades.
yeah. Yeah. And so, like, these are innocent brands. And, like, you're like, well, how does that apply to me? So, like, if you have a brand that falls into having an innocent brand, right? You would be talking about, you would be cheerful, you would be very innocent. And that wouldn't fall with all brands. Like, you also have to see the industry that you're in and how to position yourself. So, like, we do brand workshops. We were talking about doing a brand archetype workshop. Um, and we were thinking about doing something like for $47, a 1 day event where we go deep into archetypes and help you have get some, like, who's the personality that you want to have for your brand, what does align with me, because it also depends, like, are you going to be a personal brand, or are you going to be a corporate brand, or are you going to mix them?
Yeah,
And
and
so, like, we
this kind of workshop is nothing like the Myers-Briggs or DISC or those other personality
yeah, it's very
workshops. It's
different.
very different.
Yeah, it's very different. It's not the same thing, but it gives you a good idea for your business. It gives you, a leg up. It gives you, more information, more insight into
Yeah.
who you are as a personality for your brand. But it also helps your client distinguish you.
Mhm.
It puts you ahead of other businesses that don't have any type of brand personality.
Yeah, because then you
So,
can focus in on that voice, you can focus in on okay, even visuals
yes.
help. So when you know your brand voice, it helps people like that are in my role visually, I can identify photography and resources faster because I already know the archetype.
Correct. And so it does have tons of benefits. A lot of people want something that's fast, like, you want to come to us and you want to have a logo done. But then we start asking you, well, what type of personality does your brand have? Like, what type of voice does it have? Do you have any do you have any insights on how
Yeah.
you're going to position yourself to your audience? Do you know your audience? And, like, we start asking you questions, you're like, wait a second, this is a lot more than just getting a logo. And it's like, yeah, there has to be strategy
Yep.
to in back of just a logo. Yes, we can give you a logo, but will it sit well with your audience?
Right. Yeah,
And
because it's
at
all
the
about what the audience sees.
like, what do you want? Like, do you want for your audience to be attracted to you, or do you just want a logo because you really just want to move forward in this part of your business? So you really have to think about, like, am I going to be strategic or am I not? And
Yeah.
maybe it's for later, maybe you really
Yeah.
can't right
Yeah.
now, and do the whole thing. I mean, but I would hope that if you have been following me, that you can go back and check some of our videos, because we have tons of resources that we give for free, and that we give you enough information that maybe you can't pay for it right now, but you can get some knowledge into it so you can prepare yourself, right? And so when you are in the right position to go ahead and do some branding, then you can come to us and say, you know what, like, I've seen all your videos, I've watched your stuff, I've tried as much as I can. Now I have enough money to go ahead and invest in my business, to go ahead and have a brand that's going to be cohesive.
Yeah.
And so, like, we want to go ahead and give you that. But let's go ahead to the next one, which is sage. So the sage is the AKA teacher,
Yep.
expert, thinker.
Yep.
So they fall into the same category.
Lots of
It's also,
news brands would fall into this, or universities would fall into this.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, more of like the like Google. Google is a sage brand, but what else are they called? They're called the expert, the scholar, the
Yep.
detective, the advisor, the
Yep.
thinker, researcher, planner, professional, mentor, teacher, guru, investigator, analyst. Um, so yeah, so like they have various names for the sage, and there's different people that call either the thinker, the expert, or the sage. I think they're one of the main ones that they're called.
Mhm.
Um, and so, Nicole, you want to go more deep into it?
Yeah. One of their mottos is the more we know, the better off we'll all be. So like this is where I was talking about, like with the news brands like BBC. Lately, I've been watching a lot of documentaries with BBC, but then when you start to think about it, like beyond BBC, you've got, I'm thinking even like with documentaries, like with National Geographic, they dive deep into digging. This is the people that love to dig, dig, dig. They create brands out of digging.
Yeah.
And so like even Forbes would be like a sage brand. Well, they also they value knowledge, objectivity, truth, wisdom. They're heavy in authority and decisiveness. They have fears. Lots of these brands, if they don't engage with the positive side, it's what they don't want to be with the opposite side, which would be like being seen as ignorant. Yeah, brands want to stay in that place of being knowledgeable, being on point, and always staying in that place rather than in the opposite. They're motivated by the power of knowledge and determined to dig deep. So that's where I was talking about their diggers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, they don't like to be duped, or misled,
Nope.
or outsmarted.
That's true.
So these brands tend to not want to be in that side. So you're like, wow, this is like a real personality thing. And you're like, yeah, it really is. Like, because so there's tons of statistics and oh man, market research that states that as you put your company that has a personality in it, and you give it like a human touch, more people feel called to this company. And so you want to make your tribe. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's important to go ahead and have a tribe, go ahead and to call in your people. Why? Because as a business owner, you want to be able to call the ones that are, that you're going to help.
Geez,
Um,
and you're making me even think like, and we can dive into this for another topic, but like AI.
yes.
I can't imagine any Sage brands that are tapping into AI,
Yeah. Yeah. So
and
there's
it's
just
not so I mean, is it authentic? Oh,
yeah. So like it depends. Like their goal is always to understand the world and teach others
yeah,
what they know. So that's what the brand is about.
yeah,
And how that might look like might depend on the company.
yeah.
One of their strategies is to seek information and knowledge through self reflection, research, and objectivity, diligence. And so you're like, wow, I might be some of these. And you're like, yeah, we all have all 12, just so you know. Because I think a lot of people like, well, how do I stick to one? We have all 12, but you're going to go ahead and it's like us. We are sometimes even maybe more innocent. Some of us are more, the rebel. Some of us are more the mentor, the sage. Some of us are more the hero of our story. So it really depends on how you want to portray your company. And so, yes, you have a little bit of everything, and everyone has a little bit of each, right? But you're going to want to attract, you want to polarize. And people hate that word, I think. Some people are like, why do I have to polarize? And the reason that you want to polarize is because it attracts your tribe. Like you want people to be authentic with you as you are authentic with them.
Mhm.
So that's why you want to polarize. Because, and obviously, not in a mean way or anything like that, because you don't have to be mean or, what's another word for it? Just, you don't,
Difficult.
yeah, you don't have to be difficult or mean or, want to bring
Well, I was
someone
gonna
else
say,
down.
there's also a healthy way of challenging a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of times too, if there's no challenge, then they can't really show what that authenticity looks like.
Hmm. That's good. Even with us as
Yeah,
people, we're the same way. You don't know your yes until you've said no. And this is something I taught like in
yeah,
one of my other businesses, because I taught a lot on boundaries. And you don't know your boundaries until you say no to someone, because that's
mhm,
where you say, okay, this is where I draw the line. This is where I say no. Once you say no, then your yes means something. And so it's the same with brands. You've got to
yeah, that
have
was really good.
boundaries. Yeah, it's true. So like I'm very strong about my boundaries, and people are like, man, she sounds like she's, some people might say something with the B word, but at the same time, it's not about, me trying to be, rebellious in a way. It's more about my boundaries are strong and I love myself enough to say no. Because then when I say yes, it's a joy to say yes. And so it's
Well,
very important.
you tend to be more confident then about your voice because you know who you are, you know
Yeah,
your identity. Um,
exactly.
yeah, whereas lots of times a starting up brand doesn't fully know their identity and they're learning. That's why these brand archetypes can be such a benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. Even big, as you'd see, big companies actually do use them. This is why big companies do brand workshops, and they still do these every so often, every few years. Because why? They, as the seasons change, as the seasons, you know, we evolve, as new generations come through, you got to see, well, is my brand aligned with what we still do? Like,
Yeah,
is the
and it's okay
public,
to change.
yeah. Is the
Yeah.
public, you know, saying yes? And do they like us or not? Do we have a tribe that feels very still strongly about us? And so you have to go ahead and rebrand, and they go through really big workshops.
They do.
That's what we do. We do workshops depending on the size of the company, depends on what type of workshop you're going to get. Like we want to talk about brand guides, a style guide, what the differences are, because a lot of people don't really understand what that means. And you're like, what? And every business should have a brand guide.
Yeah.
And just depends on the extent of it, but there's totally like huge brand guides like that are for big companies. Why?
Yeah.
Because you want all
Oh
your
my goodness.
employees to follow the same guidelines, right? And so you need to have something that's major so that it doesn't come out of context. Compared to when you're small, you're going to have a smaller guide.
Yeah.
And so we do those. Those are extremely valuable and they're very well sought out. So let's go ahead and let me give a little bit more on the brand voice for the Sage. It's authoritative. Um, Customers feel like they're educated, they're in the know, they're wise because of what this brand does, that they
Mhm.
understand, they're engrossed in this brand. So they get a lot of this brand. Um, so yeah, so that's part of that. And what else? What am I missing here? Oh, the brand voice. The brand voice is factual, decisive,
Mhm.
intelligent, and researched.
Really
So
cool. So
yeah.
earlier I was talking about some examples and I said National Geographic, and then I happened to see the brand associated with a Sage, and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I totally guessed that right.
Wall Street.
Yep.
Guys, we're not talking about politics here, please. So we are not going to go into that. But even in politics, this plays a role.
Yeah,
So
it's true. Yeah,
yeah,
there's definitely archetypes in that.
yes, there is. And when they do campaigning, sometimes they hire. Uh,
Oh, yes. I went to conferences where I listened to the creative directors that were over the campaigns.
yeah, so you actually do have. You're like, man, that sucks, and you're like, but you also have to see it from a business point of view. Like this is like you see
Crazy.
from a consumer
Crazy.
part of you, right? To
Yep.
seeing from a business point of view, and you're like,
Oh my
wow.
goodness sakes, yes.
Yeah, and so you realize that you have to think very differently because the fact is that if you're going to have a business, you're going to have a business that's profitable. Otherwise, your employees will not have a job. Like
Yeah,
you
and they
have
would
to
even
be
do
responsible.
A/B testing and all sorts of different
Yeah.
types of total like, what we would learn today with marketing, like, "Oh, an A/B test." Yeah, in politics with their campaigns, they would do it as well.
Yeah. So there is such a thing. It's part of their whole thing. Anyways, we don't go into that. But in reference, the next one is the explorer, adventure,
Dun,
pioneer,
dun,
and
dun,
seeker.
dun,
Woo!
dun.
And so what does that look like? They're the wanderer, the individualist, the pilgrim, the
Mhm,
trailblazer, the
mhm,
pioneer.
mhm.
Um, and so a lot of people are like, wow. And we know a ton of brands that fall into the adventurer one, the explorer. Like, if you really think about it, what does that entail? So, you already automatically know that a lot of outdoor companies are going to be the explorer brand.
Yeah, like
Why?
North Face.
Exactly. Not even Jeep.
Jeep Wrangler,
So,
jeans.
I own a Jeep and
That's right,
I
you
love
do.
my Jeep. I've had two. This is my second one already.
I
And
like the Jeep logo, by the way.
yes, I believe they did a rebrand on the logo not too
Oh,
long
did
ago.
they? Okay,
Yes.
I'll have to check it
So did
out.
they do on like the cars? Well, this is even like I've never even thought about this, but cars get rebranded every few years.
They do. We just talked about Kia.
Yes. And so like, but I'm not even talking about their logo. I'm talking about their car designs. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're models.
their
Mhm.
models go through like they'll have little tweaks as through the years, right? And you see that every year is a little bit different. But then they have like the major remodel, and then that's like a rebranding of that, of that car model.
I
And that's
could go
exactly
into
what
some
happened.
conversations about it.
Huh?
I said I could go into some conversations about it. How
Yes.
how even, like, downgraded some of them went, where
Yes.
you look at the car that was so distinguishable some years ago, now compare it up with another model car from another, manufacturer, and they look the same,
Hmm.
and you wonder why. Why in the world did they take it seems to you they took a step backward.
Correct. Yeah,
It's so
so
fascinating to me because they had made decisions to do all that.
correct. And so another one is Starbucks. Starbucks considers themselves an explorer brand. And you're like, how is that possible? Um,
Oh, probably because they have so many drinks, different kinds of drinks. Would that be one of the
um,
reasons?
it could be. I think it's also because they want to go ahead and ground themselves into like, they're a coffee brand. It's a lot about the, taste, the aromatic, even their branding as like when they go into making the cups or the gift cards. They're very floral, very greenery.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they have some of like animals in it, flowers. Just they're very like earthy looking. So that's why
Yeah, they
that
do say
brand is,
it's exciting and fearless.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So like the
because they're all
brand,
about freedom.
yeah. Well, and what customers feel is I have no limits. It's amazed, alive, cultured, adventurous. And a coffee drink can be adventurous. At least they've made it adventurous, right?
Well, they started off at airports. I mean, what can get more adventurous than that?
That's true. So yeah, so some of that, and then like what are their advantages? And that's the autonomy. God, ambition, being true to one's soul. Um, what are the brand's villains? And that's getting trapped,
Yeah,
conformity, and
yeah.
inner emptiness. That so
Opposite of
goes with the
freedom.
adventure. Yeah. What are their pitfalls? Aimless wandering. So it can be
Mm,
aimlessly, right? Instead of having a purpose, becoming a misfit. So adventure brands don't want to be a misfit. They still want to fit in because if they were misfit, they're an outlaw brand. So you
yep.
even there have you realize that it can be it's a very fine line that they can fall into the outlaw instead of being the adventure, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like where I was talking about the thin line between the innocent and the caregiver.
That's right. So there is some differences, and so you have to see, what's the difference between one and the other. Um,
Yep.
what else? The brand voice. It's that they're open-minded, resourceful, and tolerant.
Mhm.
So that's some of the voice of that brand. What are the strategies for it? Their strategy is to journey, to seek out and experience new things, escape from boredom. What else? Let me see.
I love the I love it how they showed NASA
Yeah,
being the, explorer, and I was like, "Uh-huh, duh."
yeah.
I mean, you can't get more grandiose than that to go out into space, but then you have Tesla's SpaceX.
Yes, yes, and um, you also have. Let me see what other brand like Patagonia. Is that how you say it?
Yep, Patagonia, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Patagonia is
that's an
another
adventure
store.
adventure store.
Yeah.
You have Dick's Sporting Good.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would be an adventure brand.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have, let me
And they're
see,
so
like,
broad and diverse.
yeah. And it's funny because you think about adventure and you would say, well, maybe a tennis shoes, and maybe some would consider themselves like maybe more like a hiking boot company would
Well, I
fall
was
more
yeah,
into the
the hike
adventures.
but, like, Nike's a hero brand.
Correct. Why? Because they position themselves that way. And most athletic wear would prefer being the hero
Yep, they would.
than the adventure.
Yeah, like
But
Adidas.
yes, but there are some brands that fall into more the adventure than the hero for clothing or for shoes, like tennis shoes.
Yep.
So it depends on how they position themselves,
Interesting. Makes me
right?
think of, like, like even like Doc Martens.
Yeah.
I
Well,
wonder
and
what they
what's
would
the
fall
difference
under.
between like Jimmy Choo
Yeah,
compared to Nike? So you,
true.
at the end, people might say, well, one is more expensive than the other, and the type of material they use is different. But at the same time, you're talking about a shoe, right? Like if you want to bring it down, you're like, well, it's a shoe. So you see that they have positioned themselves differently than from a shoe from Payless. Ooh, that's another one we can talk about. So
Oh, you talking about that
yes, that
that
video.
test thing? Okay,
Yes, that
uh-huh.
market
Yeah, I
research.
know what she's talking about. Mhm.
So guys, there's this. We're gonna talk about it. Actually, we should do that next week. We should talk. We wanted to do the
Talk
brand
about that
guide.
next week. I know what she's talking about. You all don't know what she's talking about.
So there's market research on how to position yourself, and so how a company can position themselves differently what than what they were,
Yep.
um, and
And
how
it's
to
not
do
just
that.
that brand. I think there's a few other brands that have done that kind of thing
Oh
too.
yes, definitely, where they position themselves differently in the market,
Completely
and
opposite. Mhm.
people rave about it, not knowing that it's the same company and that they were doing an experiment. Because then you realize that marketing and the way that you position yourself, like the brand, how you make the brand and the visuals and the marketing, like the wording, the messaging, your tone can change everything in a customer's perspective. So we actually have a video that we can show you, and we can talk about next week. Let's do that one because that one's like really, it really will show people the differences on like marketing and how positioning makes a difference and how a brand can change the perception of a customer.
That will be fun.
Right? Yeah, that would be fun. So let's do that next week. We had the brand guide, but we'll do the brand guide the week
We
after
can do it
that.
another week. There's always something to be
I
sharing and
know
talking
there's so
about.
much to branding, and it's so endless and so much fun too for us. At least, for me, it's just a passion, and I love it, and I love helping people. So that's really ultimately what we want. We want to be able to help people stand out from the crowd, from their industries, and to change customers' perspectives on their company. So that's what we do. That's what we're an expert at. And, we look for people that want to change, that want to go that extra level of, getting their customers to rave about them,
Mhm.
that business owner that's ready to step up their game, that they are willing to come to an expert to say, you know what, I know what you have, and I know that that's what I need because I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm ready to go from a six
It's when
figure
the
to a
people are
seven.
ready.
Yeah, and so it's reality. We're looking for business owners that are ready to take that step to go to the next level, that they're ready. And so that's why we do what we do, because we want to take them to that level. We want to be able to help them. We have tons of information and tons of ways of getting these people into going to that next level for their business. So, guys, this is it for today. It's been wonderful to be here. We love you. Thank you for being here.
Mwah.
Um, Christina, thank you. Robert, we love you guys. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. And we hope to talk to you soon. Lots of kisses, hugs. See you next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Bye,